Hey everyone, Russ Sorrells here, and you have reached our growth series. Our mission at Own Your Category is to help business leaders in leadership teams build self-managing businesses. Because that's the idea, to have a business and our business be an asset as opposed to a prison or a job in which we as the owners serve. So what we're talking about here are some of the tools, some of the strategies, some of the things that we need to focus on if we want to build self-managing businesses. That's what this series is all about. Today, we're talking about talent. It is all about talent. If you want to build a self-managing business, and I hope you do, you're going to need talent. You're going to need to surround yourself with people that can take the ball and run with it, that can make things happen. And we've got to be willing to invest in talent in order to grow our organization. So today, stage one of this, we got 3 stages we're going to talk about today really quickly. We need to define success. We need to get really, really clear on what winning looks like for the role. So when we bring somebody in, they know exactly what it is that they need to do to be successful. The role clarity tool is something that I created to help work that through and get really defined on what the role description is in just 2 or 3 sentences. What are their daily obsessions? What do they need to focus on when they get to work? What 2, 3 things max do they really need to focus on? And then what are their roles and responsibilities that go along with that particular job or position or role? And then we want to make sure that we've got some KPIs that determine what is success. What does winning look like in that role as well? After we get clear on the role itself, then we want to identify who is the ideal person, who would be the ideal team player for this particular role and for our organization as a whole. So we want to be very intentional in defining the right person, making certain, of course, that they match up with our values as an organization. And we want to make sure they're going to be a good cultural fit and help us continue to evolve our culture in the organization. So we want to get really clear on who it is that we're going to place into that role that we have clearly defined. So we're setting someone up for success before coming into the organization because we understand clearly what winning looks like in this particular role. Next up, we want to onboard the person in the right way. So we've taken all the time to get crystal clear on what they need to do. Now we need to make sure that they are set up for success when they come into our organization. So we need to have a clear onboarding plan, 30, 60, 90-day plan with a timeline. We want to make sure that we have onboarding checklists to make sure that they've got their computer, they've got all of the appropriate employment documents taken care of. We've got their 401k, their simple IRA, whatever it is that we're doing, our health insurance, everything is ready to rock and roll from a checklist perspective, but we are clear on exactly what is expected in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And then at the end of that 90 days, we really need to step back and take a look and say, okay, is this person still the right fit? Where are the gaps and how can we help them to be successful? Or is this just not going to work out? But we need to make those decisions quickly as opposed to kicking the can down the road. Having this onboarding plan, having the 30, 60, 90 figured out ensures that we can make an informed decision at the end of those 90 days and no one's surprised. Now, the individual development plan. Everyone in your organization should have an individual development plan. We call them IDPs. The reason it's so important is because when people have IDPs, they feel like they matter to the organization. Someone cares about them enough to think about their future. The key here as a leader is the IDP is not for you. The IDP is for the individual. It's for the employee. Where are they going? What do they want to achieve in the company? What do they want to achieve from a growth perspective overall? Where do they see themselves? And then how can we help them get and gain the skills that they need in order to grow in the way that they desire to grow? So those individual development plans are key to employee engagement. So that's stage 2, right? We're setting ourselves up for success because we're being very intentional in how we are onboarding and then how we are planning the future for our employee. All right, this third stage is how do we continue to grow our talent? We never want to reach a ceiling. We never want our people to stop growing. We never want to stop pouring into our people as well, because that is ultimately what's going to help our organization become incredibly successful. When we think about the salaries for employees, if we can bring someone in and pay them $100,000 a year, and they bring $1.5 million, $2 million worth of value to our business, that is chicken feed. We are winning. It's arbitrage at that point. It's amazing. It's incredible to think about the leverage that we can get when we bring in A players. And that's the key. We want to bring in people that are A players. And us as leaders, that means that we have to be on our A game, because A players don't want to work for B players. And they definitely aren't going to work for C players. So us as leaders have to step up our game the more talent we're bringing into the organization. And then we must engage and empower. So engage as in we need to get them involved in the decision-making process. So we need to help them to be more involved with that decision-making process. And then we also need to empower them to make decisions as we have trained them, to release them to be more capable. Again, this is about building a self-managing company. If we want to build a self-managing company or organization, we've got to empower people to make decisions. And then we have to have a plan for the future. Now, obviously, we've got the IDP, but as leaders, we really need to engage in the future of our team members and empower them and help them to feel like they have a brighter future as a result of us as leaders caring enough to ask the questions and engage them on that future. And that's going to ultimately help the organization. Now, if they end up outside of our organization, excellent, we have done our job. We will have a great reputation as an employer if we are growing our people so much that we can't pay them what they're worth in the market because of the value that they have grown to, and so they have to leave in order to continue to pursue their career aspirations. We have won if that is the case. Next up here, just got a few tips. Number one is build a bench. We must build a bench so that when people leave, they grow into the next spot, they get promoted. Maybe they leave to pursue other opportunities. We must have a bench. Nothing is more disruptive than a key team member leaving and not having a backfill strategy for that person. So the bench is something that we want to be talking about as a leadership team on a regular basis. We want to have a list of people that could potentially be promoted into different positions within the organizations. The first step to that is obviously identifying what are the key positions and then where are the gaps. And this next one here is we got to fill those gaps by recruiting. Recruit. That is a top priority for any leader. We have always got to be looking for the next level of A players to bring into our organization. So again, not a greater responsibility than growing talent, finding talent. Even if you don't have a position for an A player that you've identified, bring them in, find a spot, get them inside of your ecosystem so that they can help your company continue to thrive. Next is pay for talent. It often costs. This is the biggest lesson that I learned early on in my business entrepreneurial journey is I wanted to pay people minimal. If I could get away with only paying them $40,000 a year, that's what I was going to pay them. But I quickly realized after a couple of mishires that I was looking at this all wrong. What I needed to do is find capable people that were self-starters, that wanted to win, that wanted to be a part of what we were building, and then pay them more than I was comfortable paying them. When I flipped my philosophy and I started doing that, boom, it totally changed my organization, and it made all the difference in the world. Again, my name is Russ Sorrells. Thanks for joining our growth series here. If you want to learn more about how we help organizations grow and build into those self-managing organizations, if you want to learn more about the business health check that we've created to help business leaders identify the gaps in their organization and then potentially fill those gaps with some suggestions, then just go to ownyourcategory.com. You can see my contact information all over these pages. I am ready and willing to have a conversation. It's free. You just sign up, and I'll have a 30, 45-minute conversation with you at no cost to any of us. It would be a pleasure to meet you. Again, Russ Sorrells, cheers. Have a great day. Bye-bye.